Affair, first requested to me by Brian Petersen and directed by Nikolaj Arcel, is a 2012 Danish historical drama film that accounts the story of a royal affair. The Queen of Denmark is played by Alicia Vikander, and she's married to a king that has some serious issues. The king's personal physician, played by Mikkelsen, is a trusted friend and advisor to the king, and he eventually forms a love connection with the queen. Before long, things get difficult for them as their relationship gets harder and harder to conceal from the outside world. Alright, so the royal affair. This was not a movie I was familiar with in the slightest. I just checked the request list, saw it on there, and just turned it on and kind of started watching it. I did quickly realize though that, oh shit, this is a foreign film with subtitles. But nonetheless, it didn't really affect my enjoyment of it at all because I've really become accustomed to them, considering you guys have requested foreign films in the past, and I've become more used to them, if I could say that. I started watching this one though, and immediately I got hooked into it. I was invested in the royal politics, and I was, of course, invested in the star-crossed lovers that were consistently being pulled in opposite directions, which is the main focus of the film here. There's a formula to it that the film certainly pulls off quite well. This feels like an old movie. It feels like a movie that was made in like the early to mid-2000s, but that somehow works. This could possibly be due to the time period in which the story is set, because we just don't see as many films like this now. But I think the construction of the story feels old school. It feels like a classic lover entanglement story that's sort of intermixed with royal politics. And it really just depends on whether you like that style of film or not, but if you do, this is definitely an excellent choice. It really is a great movie for fans of those genres. I was definitely hooked from almost the very start. I mean, I found it sort of thrilling in a way as the story dives deeper into the toxic atmosphere that is royal politics in 18th century Britain. Watching our characters navigate these waters all the while trying to deal with a king that is clearly unstable, I guess you could say, was pretty damn engaging for the most part. I think maybe the biggest thing this movie has going for it though is how well it pulls off the atmosphere. I absolutely always felt like I was in 18th century Denmark and I was being given special access into a crazy story that just gets more and more tense as time passes. The costumes look great, the dining halls and the city, everything setting wise look great. It all just works so well as a cohesive atmosphere that's incredibly immersive. I also really love the leading performances from Alicia Vikander and Mikkelsen. These two were excellent. I found each of them absolutely essential to the successes of the film because they were able to show the depth of emotion necessary to truly pull off the complexities of these roles. They're both in extremely precarious situations because they not only have to tread lightly with the secrecy of their relationship, but really just in general. The queen doesn't have a great relationship with the king, and really anyone in power for that matter. Mads Mikkelsen's character is labeled a foreigner and not trustworthy by those in power. So these characters are both walking on eggshells pretty much everywhere they go. But they're stuck in these situations due to obligations that are keeping them there. This is sort of a tragic story in some ways because you watch the toll that the grind of dirty politics takes on these two lovers, and it ain't so pretty. I also love how this movie is shot. It truly does allow for that immersive experience like I mentioned because everything feels royal. This is one of those films where you feel like you can kind of go away to another world, if you will. Everything just feels different than what like all of us are accustomed to. And it's just cool how you get front row seat into the political aspects of 18th century Denmark. That's kind of a plus as well for more history buffs, if you know what I mean. But ultimately, this movie tells a story in itself visually. It tells us how the time period and the environment dictates the way the characters behave and how they're shaped by their surroundings. In a way, their surroundings feel like a prison, sort of molding them and hardening them into something they really aren't. That helps you understand the true nature of the characters, which is really great stuff. I think the last like 30 minutes or so is pretty damn riveting. I was absolutely locked in because I just wanted to know how the various plot threads were going to resolve themselves. By the end or near the end of this movie, there was so much I was invested in that I just felt like I needed to know how the story ended for these characters. The conclusion is definitely satisfying in an odd kind of way. You kind of just have to see it to kind of know what I'm talking about here. It's great in a different kind of way. I'll leave it at that. There's one slight problem with it all though. It's a tad bit too formal for its own good sometimes. By formal, I mean that it comes across as a little hokey in certain spots. It nails atmosphere and setting for the most part, like I mentioned, but every now and then it feels like it's going a little too far, like it's a little bit too much. I get that it's part of the story, the setting that is, and these are customs, traditions, and behaviors of people in that specific time period, but sometimes it doesn't quite feel as natural as it should. There's scenes that can feel a little bit cheesy to the point where it's almost kind of funny, in a bad kind of way. But ultimately, these scenes are few and far between. The movie's great, and it's worth a watch if you enjoy this specific type of film. As for the pros, I thought A Royal Affair nailed atmosphere and setting, sports beautiful cinematography, has two great leads, and provides a very satisfying final act and ending. As for the cons, it gets a little cheesy every now and then, but that's a mild complaint. I'm gonna give The Royal Affair a 9.5 out of 10, and definitely recommend you check it out if you feel like you enjoy this type of royal political romance story. Just remember, it's a Danish film, so there are subtitles. That's not for everyone, but if you don't mind, then yeah, definitely give it a watch. So have you guys seen The Royal Affair yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know your favorite romance film. For me, it's La La Land. You guys know how much I love that movie. It's one of my favorites of all time. Either way, this is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.